You know the Backstreet Boys as the soundtrack to sleepovers, bus rides, and awkward school crushes. 5 cute guys, matching outfits, perfect harmonies. Cute, right? But what if I told you that behind I Want It That Way and those stadium tours was a machine so calculated that even the boys themselves didn't fully understand what they were part of? What if the boys next door were actually the end product of a blueprint that had been passed down for decades? A formula tested on screaming teenagers and refined with contracts most of us would be terrified to sign. Today, we're talking about things we never noticed about the Backstreet Boys. Not just the gossip, but the structure behind them. The formula, the money, the weird guardianship, the underage partying, and the way 5 kids were turned into the biggest boy band on earth. Let's rewind. The boy band recipe didn't start with the Backstreet Boys. Long before Nick, AJ, Howie, Kevin, and Brian ever stepped into a rehearsal room, groups like the Jackson 5, New Edition, and New Kids on the Block had already proven the formula worked. And that's exactly where Lou Pearlman enters the picture. When he looked at New Kids, the dolls, the towels, the lunchboxes, he didn't just see a pop group. He saw a system, a type of blueprint that he believed he could replicate and improve. So in the early 90s, he made a decision. I can do that. And he started where every manufactured pop act begins, with casting. And of course, he had a formula. The perfect mix included a young one, a cute one, a sensitive one, a jokester, a bad boy, and the older hunk, ages 12 to 20. Basically, the human equivalent of a personality starter pack, because the goal wasn't just to make good music, it was to assemble a lineup where every girl in the audience could point to the stage and say, that one, he's mine. So Lou held auditions everywhere, in living rooms, in studios, even in his blimp hangar. A Jay McLean was the first to make the cut. Then Nick Carter showed up, belted out Bridge Over Troubled Water, and instantly became the baby-faced standout. Howie joined soon after, but Lou still needed 5 voices to build those rich harmonies he envisioned. Eventually, he found Kevin, depending on which story you believe, either recommended by a limo driver or spotted performing as Aladdin at Disney World. Kevin brought in his cousin Brian from Kentucky, and just like that, the classic Backstreet lineup was born. Now, here's the part we almost never think about. The Backstreet Boys existed as a product long before they existed as the phenomenon we know. Their roles, their dynamic, their target demographic, even the way their voices blended were mapped out before a single poster ever hit a bedroom wall. To really understand what was happening, you have to zoom out from the 5 boys on stage and look at the team standing behind them. Lou Pearlman wasn't running this ship alone. He partnered with Johnny and Donna Wright, a husband and wife duo who already had serious boy band credentials thanks to their work with New Kids on the Block. Johnny stepped in as the big picture strategist, the industry savvy manager. Donna practically lived with the boys, acting as a den mother, juggling homesickness, teenage drama, and whatever family issues followed them on the road. On the surface, it all looked like this warm, makeshift family tree. Big Papa Lou at the top, tour dad Johnny keeping the machine running, den mom Donna smoothing out the emotional chaos, and the 5 sons living the teenage dream. But early Backstreet wasn't glamorous, not even close. Instead of private jets and stadiums, it was 3 shows a day in high school gyms and middle school auditoriums, belting out covers and unreleased songs to crowds who didn't yet know their names. Every small-town radio spot, every awkward local promo, every freebie performance, they took it. Lou called it finishing school. In reality, it was boot camp with harmonies. And despite all that grinding, for 2 straight years, every major record label said no. To many execs, they looked like New Kids on the Block 2.0. A little too familiar and a little too soon. Their first TV appearance didn't help. It was on local news where they stood in baggy clothes and tough guy stances, introducing themselves with throwback nicknames that felt ripped from the NKOTB playbook. Even the anchors joked that these might just be the new Kids. Lou's plan was easy to spot. Copy what already worked, then fix the flaw. If New Kids had been accused of lip-syncing, Backstreet would do the opposite. Real 5-part harmonies, real vocals, real proof they could sing live. That was supposed to be the differentiator, and eventually the effort paid off. In 1994, Jive Records finally signed them. There's a home video from around that time, half, yay, we got a record deal celebration, half anniversary party for Johnny and Donna. And on the surface, it looks normal until you realize the Backstreet Boys are actually drunk, not 20-somethings celebrating at a bar. Kids, one of them barely a teenager. They're holding cocktails, hiccuping, stumbling around a pool. At one point, Lou tells them, put the 7-Up down, because they're on camera and they're supposed to be the wholesome faces of things like Students Against Drunk Driving. Someone behind the camera snickers because everyone knows it's not 7-Up. Later, in the footage, two of the boys are shoved into goofy costumes, one dressed as a clown, the other in a wig and dress, taped up to create a makeshift character. At one point, a caption pops up saying, "We feel so stupid," and you can literally feel the moment where the joke stops being fun and starts being uncomfortable. Taken alone, it might look like typical teen goofing around, but put in context, it's a snapshot of something deeper. How quickly the line blurred between childhood and performance, between "we're just being silly" and "this probably shouldn't be happening." And then there's Nick. Everyone remembers Nick Carter as the blonde heartthrob, the poster kid of the group. What almost never gets talked about is just how young he was when this began. 11, 12, 13 years old, working adult hours, touring, rehearsing, filming, surrounded by adults whose livelihoods depended on keeping him on stage. And here's the part that really raises eyebrows. According to multiple accounts over the years, while the boys were on tour, Nick's legal guardian wasn't his parents. It was his bandmate Brian, only 5 years older. Imagine being 13, and your guardian is an 18-year-old who is also your co-worker, your roommate, and your business partner. And both of you only get paid if all 5 of you perform. So if you're exhausted, overwhelmed, and want to go home, what does that 18-year-old choose? What's best for you, the kid, or what's best for the tour, for the schedule, for the bottom line? We know from interviews that the group fought constantly, especially with Nick. When asked about their worst fights, several members all bring up moments with him. A Jay describes one backstage blow-up because Nick wanted time off and wanted to go home. A Jay admits that he called him names and accused him of just not wanting to work. But 14-year-olds aren't supposed to want 16-hour days. That's not laziness. That's childhood trying to survive inside an adult's world. As the years went on, Nick's struggle became visible. He battled serious issues with drugs and alcohol to the point where doctors warned him he was damaging his heart. Later in life, he would face multiple allegations of abuse, which he has denied. Those are complex separate stories, but they don't erase the reality of how he started. A kid dropped into a system designed to squeeze maximum profit out of him before he was even old enough to vote. And that's really the bigger truth we never noticed about the Backstreet Boys. This wasn't just 5 guys making catchy hooks. It was a model where boys were cast into roles like the baby, the bad boy, the sensitive one, almost like characters written for a TV show. Managers positioned themselves as family while structuring deals that made them unofficial extra members, entitled to massive slices of the financial pie. Legal tools and loopholes helped lock incredibly young artists into schedules that would break fully grown adults. So the next time you hear "Everybody Backstreet's Back" at a wedding or scream sing "As Long as You Love Me" in your car, remember, this wasn't an accident. Boy bands like Backstreet were engineered, cast, trained, and packaged to trigger the exact reaction they got from us. That doesn't mean the guys weren't talented or that the music didn't bring people joy, but it does mean we should stop pretending it was all some magical fairy tale where 5 kids just happened to become icons. If you found this eye-opening, hit like, subscribe for more deep dives into pop culture's hidden machinery, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Because once you see the blueprint behind the Backstreet Boys, you start to realize just how many of your favorite idols were built the exact same way.